Good morning, it is Jane, and today on Tunisian Tuesday, we are going to address the curl that happens with Tunisian crochet. We're going to discuss a couple ways to stop it, and then we'll get into our next round of stitches. We are going to actually learn 2 stitches today, and but the 2 stitches, there are actually 3 methods to stopping some of the curl with Tunisian. One you already know, it's simple crochet, but the other 2, we'll get into that in a little bit. First of all, one of the reasons that Tunisian curls up on itself is because you're constantly working, the front of the work is facing you. So it has a tendency to curl in because of that, because you're always working in the same direction. So that causes that tension to actually pull in that direction. That's why you have that. And if you look at the back of the Tunisian piece, you're going to see that the stitches are fairly close together. So you're going to see that. And that kind of happens with knitting. With knitting, it's for a different reason. There are other reasons that it curls, and there are ways to stop it, to prevent it. And they always tell you, use larger hook, use, 2 hook sizes, if not more, larger than you plan on for your piece of work. Some of the other things you can do is to work the Tunisian reverse stitch, Tunisian purl stitch, do a rows of any kind of variegation of a seed stitch. Yes, you can do all kinds of things in Tunisian seed stitch, you name it. Fiber that will block out after the finishing. All fiber will block out. The only thing is when you are using acrylic, and I am using acrylic today, one of the things is the acrylic always has a tendency to go back to what it was. And some of that has to do with the twist of the yarn when they are plying it. That causes some of that curling as well. So you need to keep in mind that acrylic can be blocked. And when I block acrylic, I usually kill it. That's what it's called when you block it out. So you steam block it to where the acrylic doesn't have the opportunity to stretch anymore, to go back to the way it was. Some people don't like to do this because if you do it too aggressively, it actually burns the acrylic and melts it. You just have to know what you're doing and be careful with it. But you can block acrylic. They do tell you that if you use more natural fibers, like some wools, linens especially, I have very rarely found a curl with linen yarn. Cottons, those kind of things, they don't have a natural stretch to them, so many times they won't curl up as much. The other thing is to apply a heavy border around your item when you are finished. And you can do that. You can use several rows of different stitches. Tunisian double stitch at the beginning, a couple of those rows. Extended stitch, a couple of rows of that. But you got to keep in mind when you are doing Tunisian double stitch or Tunisian extended stitch, it is a lacier stitch. So you have to keep that in mind. Is that something you want in your project when you begin it? Or do you just want to add a border to it? Generally, I will just add a heavier border to it around the edges. And I don't put that border on the front. I actually turn it to where I'm working on the back side to put that border on. That helps eliminate some of that curl. And, I can show you that a little bit later. Lace Tunisian crochet patterns rarely curl. So that's a good idea to use a lace pattern. Add ribbing at the beginning, simple ribbing. For this blanket, I am actually just going to probably do a crochet ribbing around it So that will help with it once we're finished with it. This is kind of a sampler blanket that we're working as we learn the stitches. So you can do that. And always, the first thing they always tell you is loosen your tension. If you're a tight crocheter, you can loosen your tension. And one of the things with Tunisian is practice being loose with it. It works out so much better. Using the back bump for the first row. That's how I started this project. That's how I start all of my projects, whether they're Tunisian, regular crochet, because I prefer that. I like having that clean edge that's the same all the way around so that I can use it to crochet into if I'm adding borders, those kind of things. Yeah, that's basically it. I did have someone also suggest that you could also, you can use a combination of curling and non-curling stitches around borders. And I have seen a lot of people use the honeycomb stitch around the edges of their project for their Tunisian projects. It adds a very special touch to that, but that's a little bit of a different stitch, and you need to know a few other stitches before you get into the honeycomb stitch. So yeah, the other thing is, if you want to, make sure that you use all the edges to join to help stop that curl. That's the way some people do it when they make scarves. You know, you can do that. Just make small squares to make a blanket if you want. Now I am choosing to use it as a blanket just because that's what I choose to do. If you want to make a small square, start out with a smaller amount of number. Okay? Add pom-poms, beads, tassels, or fringe to the end. That will help as well. Those are just a couple of ideas to help stop that curl. But now we're going to get into the next stitches we're going to learn today. We're going to learn the extended Tunisian crochet stitch, as well as the purl Tunisian purl stitch. We're going to learn both of those. I'm going to use a smaller sample to show you some ideas for stopping that curl and to use for these, but then I will pick up the larger project and we will work a couple of rows of those with that. And you can alternate between doing the regular, that Tunisian simple stitch, purl stitch, the extended stitch. Play with your blanket, have fun with it, but let's get over to the table and we'll get to working on those new stitches. See you over there. Okay, I am going to show you a couple of stitches here today. I'm not going to use my big project to show you these. I'm just going to use a small sample. So I'm going to chain 10. Now, you know, I always like to go on the back bump. So normally the back bump will help some of that curling. But what we're going to do today is the extended stitch first. And when you do that, you actually have to chain an additional 1. You're going to skip the first 2. And you're going to pick this up, yarn over, pull through 1. And you'll do that all the way down, leaving that hook on your, leaving that loop on your hook. Words are hard today. This is the extended Tunisian crochet stitch. And some of those noises that you're hearing in the background are cats playing and also my heating system. When they put this heating system in, they made the vents too small, so it caused an air pressure flow issue. So now it always sounds louder than it should, but you know, it's okay, it keeps us warm. Okay, so you want to chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. This is the regular return pass for this stitch. And that is the extended. You can use that. You're going to see it doesn't hardly curl at all. So we're going to do another row of that. So we'll chain 1. Then we will go in and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through. You're just going to pick up these stitches like you normally did. The only thing is you are yarning over and going through 1 chain as you go. And we'll do that all the way across. And then of course when we get back to this end piece, we are going to go through those 2 loops on the end like normal. Yarn over, pull up, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2, 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 all the way across. And you see that lays fairly flat, very little curl to it, but you also notice it is a little lacier stitch. Now you can do a couple of rows of these if you choose to. Just remember that you want to chain 1 at the end before you start picking up. Like I said, the biggest thing is to remember that you need to chain 1 at the beginning if you are going to do another row. And you are basically chaining 1 through each stitch. This does create a lacier stitch, like I said, but it's okay. I mean, it's a nice stitch. It would make a nice blanket. Of course, you know, normally Tunisian, the Afghan stitch is known for being a little tighter knit, tighter stitch, so it's a little more warm. And then again, at the very end, you're going to go through those 2, yarn over, chain 1. Yarn over, pull through 2, 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 all the way across. And one thing to note is if you do start this, even though you have chained 11, when you get down here to the end, you're only going to have 10 stitches on your hook. And that's the way it's supposed to be. All right. And so you can see there's a little less curl there, which is nice. That's what you want. Now we are going to work on the Tunisian purl stitch. Now this one, a lot of people have problems with it. It's not that hard, but the problem is learning where to place that yarn, because you've got to do something with this yarn that you don't normally do. Now for the Tunisian purl, you're going to bring your yarn down in front. You can either just pull it down in front like this, or you could, I've seen people do this, where they just move it over this way, begin to pick up that stitch, then pick their yarn up, and then you pull through and pick up that stitch. Do you see how that made the purl bump there? Okay. Now, I normally just bring my finger down, go through the loop, yarn over, pull up the hoop, pull up the hoop, pull up the loop. Again, there are ways you can do it. You can do it that way by just pushing it down in front with your hook, picking up that stitch. But this is the purl stitch. You're going to bring your yarn down in front of the work, take your hook through the loop, yarn over, and pull through that loop and leave that loop on your hook. You can, like I said, you'll see that I do it both ways. And lots of times when I get faster, I just do it that way and use my thumb, where I just bring it behind, do that, then bring my thumb down to pull the yarn down in front, to pull it up. You know, you have to find what works for you. Don't be afraid to use your fingers. You can bring it down in front like this, yarn over, pull through. And of course, when you get down to this last one, you are going to go in like you normally do. You can also purl it, but a lot of people have trouble with purling it. And basically, you're just pulling it down below, yarning over, and bring it up like this. That makes a little bit of a confusion, so most people will teach you to simply go through the 2 at the end like normal, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Then chain 1, yarn over, go through 2, 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 and my tangled mess is coming with me. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Now this one you do not need to do that extra crochet stitch to bring it up higher. The extended stitch is a little higher stitch, which is why you do the chain 1 at that ending there. But let me get this untangled and we'll get back to doing another purl row. Again, for the purl row, you're going to bring your yarn down in front of your stitch. You're going to pick up that first loop, then yarn over and bring your loop through. Leave your loop on the hook. Again, bring your yarn down in front, go through your loop, yarn over, pull through. Like I told you, I tend to use this way more than bringing this down because I tend to lose my yarn, as you can see there. So I tend to do more of a bring it back behind, yarn it over, bring my thumb to hold it down, and bring it through with that loop on. That just works for me for this purl stitch. And you'd be surprised how fast you get once you keep practicing. And there are a lot of people that they bring this way down like this. And that if that works for you, then by all means, go for it. And then at the very end, you'll go through that 2 loops on the end like normal, pull through, chain 1, then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way back. Your return pass is exactly the same. Now, you have 2 stitches that you can play with on your pattern. You'll notice that this tends to look right here a little bit like a garter stitch. And that is one of my favorite stitches. You can do, when we get to this bigger piece, which I am going to pull out now, you can do a combination of the 2 stitches, play with them, do extended, then do a couple of purl. You now have 3 stitches in your repertoire. Isn't that a fancy name? You now have 3 stitches in your under your belt to use. Let me fight with my piece here a little bit. Got things wrapped around and twirled and everything else. Now, you can change up the way you want to do it. I am actually, sorry about that. I am actually going to purl all the way across on this. But like I said, you can do the extended stitch. Just remember, if you're going to do the extended stitch, to yarn over. I have a cat that's trying to get into the shot. Sorry about that. You can do the extended, and of course the extended is once you go through that hoop, you're going to yarn over, chain 1. Remember though that you do need to chain 1 at the beginning if you are going to do the extended, and that is the extended there. But I am not going to do the extended stitch on this. I am actually going to do a purl row, and then I will go back and forth and play with my stitches. Most likely I will do a purl row, then a normal Tunisian simple stitch, then the extended, then the purl, then the, just play with it for the next couple of rows. Like I said, you now have 3 stitches under your belt. Or if you wanted to, you can mix them up. Although I'm not real sure I'd mix them up like that. Now, keep in mind, this is just the Tunisian simple extended stitch. You can do this as a knit stitch as well. Of course, when you do the knit stitch, you're going to see there are 2 legs here. You have one in back and one in front. For a knit stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and show you this, simply you're going to go through those 2, then chain 1. So you could do a lot of stitches. But I am going to do a purl stitch across here. For mine, I'm going to do several rows of purl stitches. I think I'm going to do about 10 rows of purl stitches. I may add some simple stitches, or I may, like I said, mix them up. Don't be afraid to mix it up. Like I said, you now have 3 stitches that you know. You know the extended stitch. You're not going to believe this. I have 2 cats that are trying to drink my coffee. That's all they need is coffee. You now have 3 stitches. You have the Tunisian simple stitch, Tunisian extended stitch, and the Tunisian purl stitch. Use them. Play with them. Make your piece as long as you want. Like I said, I'm probably going to do quite a few rows of each. I don't know. Just because I want to play with mine and I want to see how those look. Like I said, don't be afraid to do it. Now, you see how that curls up. This is because, like I said, you are working in your front always. You are never turning it back. I am going to show you one other way to stop that curl. And I am going to basically switch up my yarns and use a different yarn. All right. See, we have kitty cats trying to help. Her brother's trying to help too. Get out of the curtain. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. No, no, no. Here comes brother. He's got to get in his 2 cents worth. Get 2 cats, they said. It'll be fun. I got 2 cats, and it's not all that fun. All right. I was going to show you one other way. Like I said, that you could start your piece if you wanted to. Let me find the end here. I don't know where the end is. There we go. And we'll basically do that with the 10 stitches. The other way is to just do simple crochet or double crochet, half double crochet, whatever you choose in each stitch across. Guess I should have chained 11, right? Yeah, I should have. Turn your work. Simply turn your work. Now this, if you do this, you are going to have to use this part of the stitch here to pick up your loop for that first Tunisian simple stitch. And then you can go through the last 2 loops on this one to bring up your last loop. Of course, then you're going to chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Your return pass is the same. And here's what you'll notice. There's no curl. So you can start it out that way. That will help defeat some of the curl if you choose to do that. Like I said, we've already started our blanket. You could go back, rip it out. It's good practice if you wanted to do that in itself. You've already got a predestined border right there of single crochet, so that when you finished off your piece, you know that once you bind off, you'll do a single crochet, and you can do a single crochet all the way around the rest of the piece. So the choice is yours. I did start off with just the normal because I do want to show you how once you do get finished, you can add borders to this to bring it out and change it. Yeah, that is it for today. I'm not going to cut the kitty brigade out. I hope you enjoyed that little bit of the kitties marching their way through our tutorial today. Hopefully I can train them to stop being so helpful. Who knows? So yeah, like I said, you already have some stitches to play with. Play with those stitches, have fun with them, and I'll see you again next week. Remember to be kinder to yourself this week. Enjoy the process of Tunisian. It is a little slower. And yes, it's a little more relaxing and more meditative. Some of you will not enjoy it. Don't worry about it. You can move on to something else. Like I said, there are so many ways, so many stitches with Tunisian that you can do that change up the project. Like I said, I know that there's about 400 to 500 stitches in Tunisian crochet because you have so many options with your Tunisian crochet. You can use the stitch here, you can use the back stitch, you can use in between here, you can use these stitches here. You can go in between the stitches, you can come back this way through the stitches. There's just so many ways to use Tunisian to build those stitches because you have more legs to work with and you're more willing to try to use those legs. All right, guys, that's it. See you guys soon. Bye. Good morning on today's Tunisian Tuesday. See, that's one of the hazards of losing weight. Clothes get too loose. It's Jane.